Hi folks, Florida Man here. Today I'm bringing you my after-action report along with King of Prussia on a game we played on the Imperial Diplomacy map. I was Portugal, and he was Tokugawa, Japan. Please enjoy. This video is part 2.
And we're back.
Yes, welcome back. Good to see you again, King of Prussia. Or should I say, Shogun of Japan?
Yeah, Emperor of Japan. The problem with that game is he didn't let me change the name or the color, so the country wasn't quite as pretty as it could have been.
Yes, we could have made it more reflective of the new status of the empire once it really starts to expand, once the emperor takes full control of the government.
Exactly. All right. Spring 1647.
Yes, we are back in time.
Yes.
And we can start with your part of the map, ever expanding as it is.
Yes, so this season is just some coordinated bounces between myself and my ally Ayutthaya in there. I work with Ching to make sure that we're covering all of the potential spots that Mapuche's fleet could retreat to, in case I, booted out, which I did. Mm. And we're also just making sure that there's no spot where Mapuche can hope to get in. I'm covering all my bases. Yeah, exactly. If he does get in, it's only going to be a negative to Ching. It's not really going to hurt me that much. And I'm also sneaking a fleet of my own into the South Pacific to start to put some pressure on Mapuche, so that maybe they'll consider making peace. Spain is also finally supporting me in this, which is really nice to see. And I believe you also have a little fleet down there that's near Indochina that's getting taken down.
Very tragic, very unfortunate. And yet, somehow, I never really expected that my single fleet here would manage to capture all these coastal centers like I kind of wanted it to. Seemed like a bit of a pipe dream, honestly.
Yeah.
But, I have to do something with it while it's there. So, attempting to cause trouble, maybe get into South China Sea so I could sneak into the Philippines or, maneuver my way back around.
At the very least, now that it's being forced to retreat, you could disband it and spare yourself the unit.
Yeah, that's a completely unnecessary distraction for me. I don't even want to be entering orders for it. Elsewhere, I'm just barely sort of hanging on to what I have in the East Indies. Ayutthaya definitely coming for what I have left there. And now I'm focusing more on India and on Africa as strongholds that I can hopefully maintain a grip on. But mostly this is the beginning of the decline, where I'm still trying to kill off the Dutch. I'm still doing little projects fighting the Congo and Ajuran, but this is we've seen the high water mark of Portuguese influence, and it is well in the rearview mirror at this point.
Unfortunately, yes. The dominance of the regionals, really.
Most tragic. We could have brought so much civilization.
Well, luckily in East Asia, we're still bringing civilization to everyone around us. So
it's good that it's good that you have that opportunity.
All these barbarians must be civilized, clearly, and so they will be.
And so they shall. Not a whole lot of big news elsewhere. I finally take this Spanish dot. I think it's Valencia, but it's Spain is retaking Barcelona, which I never would have been able to hold on to that anyway, so I don't really mind it too much. If Spain and I are fighting, it's inevitable that I would lose that.
Yeah.
And yeah, we are very unproductively fighting again, although I am getting the Canary Islands, which is nice.
A nice little prize.
Yeah, it's not great. At the same time that Spain and I are fighting, Poland is, keeps trying to insinuate that maybe he should be able to take this dot of mine, and is just trying his best to become the winner of this game.
Yeah.
In fairness, at this point, I believe he's already is he the board top?
I believe so. Yeah.
Yeah, at least in terms of like VSCC, which is what matters. Yeah, he's got 25 out of the 42 he needs, so it's
looking pretty good.
Yeah, it's way ahead. So hopefully some miracle will occur to stop Poland, but
until then,
yeah, big problems. Anything else noteworthy you want to mention about this map?
It looks as if Britain is making some sort of move in the Caribbean, perhaps a stab on Spain, but it's hard to tell from this distance.
That's probably right. I see Britain moving into St. Augustine, Spain moving this unit on
Cuba to Havana Bay.
Yeah, moving toward this British center here. Spain's moving out of Jamaica, also toward a British center. So I think that they are fighting. I'd been trying to get them to stop fighting by this point so that they could focus on the real Polish threat, but neither of them really paid me much attention, which is why I felt, very free to just attack Spain again, because I stopped attacking him hoping he would be a productive ally that would, help me achieve the board top, help keep other people from reaching the board top, maybe become a vassal of Portugal at some point. But he's kind of just flailing aimlessly,
but not really doing that much.
Yeah, it's very ineffective. So I might as well try and put him out of his misery, take him off the map.
It's you saying, "Hey, you're not making very good use of these dots. How about I come in and I can make some really good use of these dots instead?"
Yeah, it's a win-win.
Yeah.
Or something.
Something like that.
Yeah. It's at least a win. At least one win.
We can also see here that Sweden is now throwing to Poland, allowing a Polish army to convoy into its capital.
Yes, because the Russians didn't do what Sweden wanted. Sweden decided to punish all the rest of us.
Yes.
I do remember. That was a bit... That felt a bit ridiculous, but, Poland was just doing very well at this moment, was really approaching that undeniable leadership status that everyone to either join you or fight you.
Yeah, because in this game, there's an option to join you. So some people will take that.
Yeah.
By which they are.
By the end, it starts to seem like something of a design flaw, honestly.
Especially in the other games. In this game, I don't think it was too bad.
I enjoyed how it went in this game, but I do feel like it definitely made it less competitive in certain parts.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a good way of putting it.
If the game had gone on a little longer, it would have been even more ridiculous, but, well, let's see what happens in the fall.
Yeah. In the fall, not much changes in East Asia. There are just some organized bounces again, and I sneak another fleet into the South Pacific, and I sneak my fleet from the South Pacific. Right? Do I sneak anywhere? I don't think I do this turn, but I just continue to have fleets in the South Pacific. Yep. Oh no! What happens is I get forced to retreat by Mapuche, but if you scroll over to South America, he leaves some sea tiles open, so I get a fleet off his coastline this turn.
Oh my gosh!
So he ends up wanting peace after this.
Yeah, that's a shame. He was really fighting you basically on his own at this point.
Yeah.
So it's not an easily winnable struggle for him. I don't know what the optimal Mapuche strategy is in this game, other than turn the other powers in South America against each other and then try and turn on them. I don't know what he's supposed to do about the powerful Japanese navy that's likely to be floating somewhere off the coast.
Well, at this point, he should probably be trying to be friends with me and become enemies with you, because you're a little bit busy at this moment, and it might be a good time to try to, just sneak some Portuguese centers out from under him, out from under you.
Yeah, this whole time I was a bit worried that he might try to turn on me, but that's why I make sure that I always have more armies than he does. Um, he has, let me see, what, one, two, three armies available, and I have one, two, three, four. Um, yeah, just four, but I figure that's probably enough when he only has three.
Yeah. And well, one of them is in Chile.
That's true.
You'd think he'd consider convoying that somewhere else at some point, but for now, it stays.
Yeah. I'm watching him to make sure he doesn't do anything suspicious. I don't want to make it easy for him to turn on me. And, you know, I know that if the incentives were right, Mapuche would definitely do it. South America has to be a stronghold, so I am making sure that I have some control over the South Atlantic Ocean and, you know, fairly significant number of armies on the mainland.
Yeah.
Up north, we see that Athabasca getting an increasing dominance over North America, taking territory from the Inuits, and also getting closer to wiping out the Sioux and the French as well. With one of the results being that the Inuits actually move into the South Atlantic Ocean, and there's some conversation between us where I'm trying to figure out what's going on, why are you doing that, and Inuit basically is like, look, I've got nothing. I have no way of defending my homeland. I'm getting desperate. I need to go elsewhere to grab dots. You know, do you mind if I'm just moving through here to attack Mapuche? Maybe you could join me. I tell him I'm not interested in starting any additional fights. I'm in too many. But if you attack Mapuche, I'm not going to attack you or anything.
You know, that's how to do him as an ally.
Well, if Mapuche is a bit distracted with the Inuits, at least that decreases the odds that he can turn on me.
Yeah. If he's got a polar bear migration on his doorstep, maybe he won't fight those Portuguese men.
Yeah, it just gives me a little more time to work out these other minor difficulties that we're having with these stubborn Spanish and the highly aggressive Ajuran Caliphate and the Congo as well.
Mm.
I need peace on one front at least.
Or else it starts to go very, very, very poorly.
Yes. Like if I don't at least have this solid wall to put my back up against, then I could suddenly start crumbling from all sides. I mean, it's a little less likely that I lose Iberia, but we've seen from what happened to Spain that Iberia can actually be invaded pretty quickly.
Yeah.
And we know Britain has been very opportunistic about attacking me randomly in the past without either having provocation or being at peace with other people. Just if Britain sees the opportunity to sneak a dot or two, yeah, because
she will.
Yeah, because it's hard to attack Britain for anyone who doesn't have somehow have more fleets than Britain does.
For anyone not named France, pretty much.
I mean, yeah.
And at this point, it's very hard for France too, because France has gotten their coastline revoked.
Yeah, I'm really the only actual naval threat to Britain in the entire hemisphere. Like, it's bad. And I'm distracted, so Britain has a real free hand. It's actually it's a pretty serious problem theoretically.
Yeah.
Just depending on how aggressive Britain decides to be. You know, we see Britain has partially reoccupied the North Atlantic Ocean, but isn't really insisting on just staying and filling out those spots. Is mostly just trafficking through it. So if Britain ever fills up all five of these slots, though, I might be in some trouble, because then she'd be free to just take pot shots at me with no possible recourse.
Not ideal.
Yeah. I wanted to have the South Atlantic Ocean completely under my control as a sort of counter, because then with those spaces and with these sea spaces that border the Azores under my control, then I would have at least an effective defense against Britain, although I wouldn't be able to take the North Atlantic Ocean even with all that, because Britain just has too many sea spaces here that can be used to help defend it. But at least Britain's ability to advance would be would be really curtailed because I could cut support from any and all of these North Atlantic Ocean spots.
Yeah.
So that's something I wanted to do, but it's just not realistic given the amount of people, given the number of people who are trying to fight me right now.
The unfortunate reality of being a colonial.
Yeah, it's lonely. People don't tell you about that. No one knows what it's like.
Yeah.
And meanwhile, we see that Poland is again taking the opportunity to attack Spain now that I'm fighting Spain again.
He just sneaks a couple dots.
Yeah, he just walks into Marrakesh and Berbers. And I can hardly blame him, but this is getting pretty bad. And there's no will to attack Poland from anyone. And there's no desire by anyone to leave me and Britain and Spain alone. Like, the powers that we are fighting don't want to leave us alone because we could be the ones to stop Poland.
Yeah.
Like, Congo cares about taking dots.
Yeah, but instead Congo is like fighting you, but not really having a cohesive foreign policy at all or any strategy, it seems.
No, it's really bad. Like, Congo, I feel like Congo was just honestly probably gunboating a fair amount of this game, because I think that the strategy by her is it's just attacking whoever you can attack at any time.
Yeah.
I mean, earlier in the game, Congo was more involved. I think that at some point she probably got bored and stopped really thinking much about it. So I would occasionally try to reason with her, but mostly I didn't want to work together because Congo's, has very little capacity to take dots from me. And I'm still hoping I'll be able to kind of make peace somewhere else so I can go and retake some of this stuff that Congo took earlier. But none of that's really happening. It's mostly just me struggling to hold my ground against Ajurin and Congo while Ajurin tries to keep up with Poland and, everywhere else I'm fighting someone.
Yeah.
Mughals.
Everywhere.
Yeah. Fortunately, we do have South America.
Nice and peaceful.
Yeah, I actually read through a lot of Mapuche's Void after the game, and I discovered that Mapuche spent a lot of time obsessed over finding the right moment to stab me. And I was doing a really good job of making it look very unappealing, so I'm happy about that.
It was never the right moment to stab you.
That's what I want them to think. Right moments definitely came and went, but I like to think I mostly made it an unprofitable idea.
Yeah.
At least for Mapuche. So in the build...
Everybody else, different story.
Yeah. Yeah, everybody else felt, just feel free. Stick a knife in my back. It's open. Got space here.
Get a whole, a whole set of knives, really.
Exactly. In the build phase, I don't
get any builds.
Yeah, I was going to say, I don't think you got anything this
year was more about positioning and about threatening Mapuche, so they stopped fighting me, which they do now.
Yeah.
They say, oh yes, I'd like peace. And I go, oh, thank God. I can go and kill somebody else.
Who's your next target?
At this point, I'm actually considering Athapaska as my next target. He doesn't really have a strong fleet presence in the Pacific, and it's more natural for me to try to, go across the North Pacific than to go across the North Pacific and the South Pacific to invade Mapuche. So that's what I'm looking at this point.
It's a very good point. And, he's clearly seeing the danger because he just built his third West Coast fleet here, although obviously that's insufficient.
That will not be enough to fight the 13 fleets of the Tokugawa.
The Tokugawa are a little more formidable than that. Sorry, Athapaska. Maybe try something else.
We like boats.
He really likes his armies. You can see he's just a really big fan of armies and is hoping to go unnoticed by you for a while longer so that he can conquer all the rest of North America.
Yeah.
And Spain, seeing that ambition, wants to make it easier by deleting the unit he has on the front line with Athapaska, as well as a unit he has in North Africa and a Mediterranean unit. Spain is mainly focused on trying to hamper me and also, to a lesser extent, I think, Britain.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, it's interesting strategy.
those are the builds and the destroys. Oh, I get a fleet here in my capital of Lisbon. And I also put a fleet in South America because, like, I don't really trust that these Inuit fleets are going to be harmless, and also Congo is in South Atlantic. So I just want to make sure that I am adequately defended. And
Yep. And the Dutch, of course, their disband is to get rid of the unit in their dot.
yeah, because otherwise they might hold territory at the end of this year.
Yeah. And that would be a hassle.
That's such a drag. I even took care to keep my fleet fairly northward so that it would be non-threatening to Mapuche, because I want to make sure he knows that we're in this together.
Yep.
Which we are.
I'm going to make sure that you can't stab me, but I'm also not going to walk up to you with a knife.
Exactly. That's really the essence of diplomacy, I think.
I don't know. I quite prefer to walk up to people with knives.
Well, that explains a lot. I don't think there's much else noteworthy in this build phase. Poland getting a bunch more armies because Poland approaching victory. In the spring of 1648, what can you tell me about the strategy here?
Yes, so I started to do my thing, which is trying to, of course, bring my units across the Pacific and start preparing to fight Athabasca. But at this time, you can see I almost get that convoy to Hawaii, but I'm glad that I don't at this point. Because if you scroll back over to Eastern Asia, Qing decided, without consulting me, to stab the Ming.
Oh, yes. That's when this happened.
Yes.
Oh my
Which,
God.
of course, was certainly one of the decisions that was made in this game.
Why do you think Qing didn't tell you?
He probably thought that I would side with Ming. And
Was he right to think that?
Given the position, yeah, I mean, I'd side with Ming here, like 10 times out of 10, because I have no... Like, if he had asked me, I would have considered it at least, but in the position, I have literally no way to fight Ming at all. Without it being very, very telegraphed, like 2 years in advance telegraphed, I have no way to fight the Ming. Where with the Qing, all their dots are right there on the coastline of the North Pacific, and I have, like, a bunch of fleets there for some reason.
So, if you were the Qing, how would you have played this?
I would have, if you're the Qing, you have to stab like 2 or 3 years earlier. You have to go to Russia and say, hey, I've got all these dots from you. You can't take them back. Let's have a peace. And then you have to stab the Ming earlier. Because at this point, I'm very, very secure in my position, and I can afford to do whatever I want, really.
Mm-hmm. That does seem like it could be a problem for the Qing dynasty.
Yes. Because now I don't have to go all the way across the North Pacific to find some dots. Because the Asian Triple Alliance, or I guess quadruple with Ayutthaya, is broken down a little bit.
Ayutthaya. They're certainly enforcing the idea of Asia for the Asians.
Yes.
Wow.
So after I make these moves towards Athabasca, I go into my president and I say, hey, I was going to attack you, but there's this other big, bright pink nation that I think would be easier to attack, so can we just chill? And his response is, yes, let's just chill. Because he has nothing to fight me with anyways, so...
He needs to build more fleets. He'll get back to you later.
Precisely.
I mean, if he does, then, and he works with Mapuche, maybe they could do something. It's crazy.
Probably not.
Probably not. It's crazy how big Athabasca has gotten as a share of a major continent.
Mm.
And Mapuche is, kind of formidable too here. Maybe they could do something if they just work together. Spain is clearly on board for the stopping Japan program.
A little bit. The moves weren't discussed ahead of time, so I was surprised that Spain wanted to, cause problems.
Yeah. At the same time, of course, Athabasca is occupying Spanish centers. So,
Yep.
even if Spain is really committed to being on his side, that's probably not going to last very long, if only because he is depleting Spain's strength.
Juicy dots.
Yeah, you gotta have those dots.
Any major changes on your end here?
This year, I am trying to finish off the Dutch. The French are getting in my way for some reason. Don't know what I ever did to make the French mad, but probably some small thing years ago, probably very minor. Anyway, the Dutch are trying to walk into my, they're trying to walk into,
I want to say it's Giras, but I can't read it.
Yeah, they're trying to walk into this big open space that borders 3 centers, and so I bounce them. And then the issue is just, how am I going to finish off the Dutch and make sure they don't survive by sneaking into any of my other dots that they're right next to? Because right now they're already next to 4. And it's annoying that the French are stopping me from finishing off the Dutch, and it's also annoying that there's this raider behind my lines. But as long as Mapuche doesn't turn on me right now, I think I'm going to be okay. And Mapuche...
Luckily, I was going to say, luckily Mapuche just received a present in the mail. All the way from Canada. The fleets.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
The Inuit fleets have arrived.
That is very inconvenient. And I was happy to see it. You know, I didn't try to discourage it at all or encourage it. I tried to be very, neutral on that and not interfere because I figured I needed the distraction. But, even before Inuit moves down, Mapuche is at the same time moving all of his units away from me. So this was a season where I really didn't need to worry about him, even though with this distraction, it would actually have been a really good moment for Mapuche to start trying to move. He could have actually walked into one of my dots if he knew I was leaving, but...
he's a little more concerned with the potential that I might walk into one of his dots.
Yes. He is dealing, thankfully for me, he's dealing with the Japanese threat.
Of course, we agreed to a peace treaty, so the Japanese threat is actually currently leaving. Going home.
Yeah, but he doesn't trust that, I guess. Because he's just, all of his moves pretty much are about defending his coastlines and keeping you from walking into anything. So he's assuming that the peace treaty with you isn't actually effective. Which is a mistake, obviously, in this case.
Yeah, because I'm a man of my word. I would never betray anybody. At this point.
Oh, okay.
You see, it's the Japanese progression of, hey, we're a great power now, so we have to follow all of our treaties because we're in the international system.
Oh, that makes so much sense. I forgot that foreign policy was based on real Japanese foreign policy.
So we're just looking to, make a name for ourselves and really be upstanding members of the international community.
Wonderful. A role model for all new major great powers.
Exactly.
Elsewhere, there's not a whole lot of interest going on from my perspective. I'm just trying to make sure that the advance into my territory is as slow as possible. Unfortunately, the Ajuran and Ayutthaya are kind of working together against me. The Congo is not really working with me, although they are sometimes attacking Ajuran instead of just me. So we're at least fighting a common enemy in that sense. But for the most part, I'm just trying to hold my ground. Only in Europe right now am I actually trying to take new territory by continuing to fight Spain. And at the same time, I'm being attacked by Britain. We're being invaded by France for some reason. Like I said, I really don't know what I did. Like, I don't know if I don't know. Maybe I accidentally said something offensive, or he heard a bad rumor about me. I'm not really sure.
Hard to say.
Yeah, France is suddenly after me. Hard to say why. Other than that, I think that mostly this season continues the trajectory of the game. The Qing, unfortunately for them, are still fighting Russia, while at the same time they're fighting the Ming. So I can't see how even though Russia is kind of a rump state at this point, I can't see how having to fight Russia while fighting Ming, and as it turns out, he might also have to fight you, is
Yeah.
going to well. But we shall see in the fall. So,
And as we see in the fall, it doesn't really go too well. I mean, he gets the center from, he gets the dot off of Ming. I actually lend Manila to the Ming here so that he doesn't have to make a disband.
that's very thoughtful of you.
Very supportive ally. I would never betray my greatest ally, Ming. And I just throw a bunch of fleets towards Qing.
Yeah, I noticed all these arrows, and I thought, I'm sure the Qing will appreciate all those fleets coming to visit him and show your friendly regard.
Yes, my thoughts on his adventure into China proper.
But does it give you any pause? The fact that the Qing so quickly and easily have taken the Ming capital, does this indicate that the Ming have lost the mandate of heaven? Because they've lost.
Well, you know, I mean, maybe they have lost the mandate of heaven, but honestly, it's not really a concern for me in Japan because that's kind of a Chinese concept where it doesn't matter if you have the mandate of heaven. You know, you can be the Mongol emperor and have the mandate of heaven all you like. If you try to invade us, there's still going to be a typhoon to come blow your fleet away. So,
the divine wind.
exactly, we are above the mandate of heaven. We are better than it.
That's right. The Chinese emperor has to have the mandate of heaven. The Japanese emperor is just a descendant of God.
Exactly. So, I mean, really, there's no like mandate required. Everyone knows that he is descended from God, so you just got to do what he says.
That lack of accountability is nice.
Exactly.
I'm sure many monarchs would be jealous of that.
You know, it's not even like, you know, divine right, like God chooses who rules. It's just by birthright, literally.
Yes, I am literally a descendant of God. Fall on your knees.
Or else.
Or else, yes. Fall on your knees or you will no longer have knees, basically.
Well, if you wish to have knees, you should fall on them very quickly, or things might go poorly.
Things could go very poorly indeed. So, to the south, we see I'm losing my last Southeast Asian colony, but on the bright side, I do take the Spanish Southeast Asian colony of Makassar, and so I will survive in that region for another year.
Yep. And Mapuche is fighting Ayutthaya, but that's not my problem anymore, so...
That's good. As long as it's not your problem, it's pretty much fine, right?
Yep, Ayutthaya is kept busy, Mapuche is kept busy, and I get to go engage in my northern expansion strategy.
Ayutthaya is a pretty dangerous fellow, so keeping him busy seems like a very important thing to do.
Yeah, this morning, let me check when we had a new Ayutthaya player midway through the game.
Yes, that was probably right about now.
Yes, it changed from Ego, who, as I said before, is somewhat of a passive player, to Amethyst, who is not a passive player and who really stepped it up, I have to say.
And I was already finding the original Ayutthaya player quite aggressive.
Either way, well, nothing much else happened this fall, it would seem.
From my perspective, very little changed when the Ayutthaya player was replaced, but that's because the Ayutthaya players were already both attacking me. The original one was just less aggressive.
Yes.
Otherwise, there's not very much going on for me in Asia. I mean, I know that there's this big war. That's the main event where I am, my only involvement is that I am declaring praise the Qing because it's about time someone gave the Ming a smack. Take another few dots for me, Qing. But, the Ming player, he did a really good job. He's been doing a really good job this whole game, so I can't I can't be too mean. He's just he's being attacked, and like you said, it's probably not even a very good idea for Qing to attack him here.
Not many good ideas for Qing. He's kind of put himself in a corner.
Yeah, he's struggling with the Russians. He's actually losing a dot while taking a dot from the Russians. So the fight with the Russia is a little bit too back and forth. He shouldn't be spreading himself thin by getting into another land war right now.
Yeah. Well, so what year is it? 1648 we're on right now?
Yes, it's fall of 1648.
Yes, Ayutthaya gets replaced for spring of 1650.
Oh, okay. So this is the original Ayutthaya player.
Yes.
Okay, that explains it. So that's part of why I never noticed a big difference with the Switch, is that I'm already basically gone from Asia.
You've already been purged.
I just have this little cone in India.
Yep.
So the other major events for me are in South America. I do finally finish off the Dutch. Before, the French bounced me out of the Dutch center here, and I realized that what that meant was that the French were going to keep trying to bounce me, so I just let the French in to kill the Dutch, get rid of this raider behind my lines.
Excellent.
The Inuits actually failed to take this island that I thought they were going for, but instead take one of the Mapuche home centers, and backfill that sea space. So the nuisance of the Inuits continues to be a serious issue. And I'm just pretty much turtling in my homeland. All these arrows are just really short, a really complicated way of saying I'm just defending myself. Hi folks, Florida Man here, bringing you a commercial break to promote my book, Ruthless, Path of Conquest. Main title is Path of Conquest, series title is Ruthless. The series is being released by the publisher Podium. The first book will soon be available on Amazon and Audible for those of you who prefer to listen rather than reading a text. This novel is a fantasy in an apocalyptic Earth setting, and here's the description that my publisher prepared for it. The end of the world affords a restless everyman the chance to be a fearless warrior in this exciting apocalyptic adventure filled with magic and monsters. James Robard was a risk-taking con artist and thief before he turned over a new leaf as a loving husband and a dull suit in a law firm. He's never felt so unadventurous. That is, until the system descends upon Earth, and he's initiated into a thrilling game world of magic and mayhem, training for exhilarating challenges that make him feel alive again. With much of the Earth's population already wiped out, James's first mission is to survive. But the system sees much more in him, like his potential as a warrior. After all, it's judging him by his nefarious past. It knows he'd kill to outlast the dangers ahead, and be reunited with his family. In fact, it's counting on it. It seems the system has found its game villain. Forging a path of escalating stamina, mana, and skills, James is tossed into violent combat with ravenous monsters, treacherous humans, diabolical cults, and gods of less-than-divine intervention. The life-and-death risks and total abandon are giving James a rush. He's been given free rein to be ruthless. But being a pioneer of chaos has its consequences. Torn between his power-hungry impulses and better instincts, James embarks on a journey of self-discovery through a cataclysmic new realm. And along with a band of fellow survivors, he's about to find out his true purpose in the system's apocalyptic endgame. And now back to your regularly scheduled programming. There's not really a whole lot going on except for, the potential destruction of Iberia by foreign invaders. Spain and I, we might have our differences, but we can't let the British and the French come in and try to take what's ours. So
I'm not sure Spain agrees with you here.
So naturally, I start working on Spain and trying to make peace so that we will not be occupied by these foreign interlopers into our shared land. The Spanish and the Portuguese have a shared history that goes back thousands of years. And really, these people from their island here, they're strangers. Gotta keep them off.
Indeed.
And the French are even worse because they're French.
Well, yeah, that's self-explanatory.
Exactly. I won't even explain it. The Polish are finally looking like they're going to maybe go after Bornu here, as well as continuing to try to take advantage of my fight with Spain to take this last Spanish dot that's within reach. But it's... Oh, and they've now vassaled Sweden.
Yeah.
So it's not a great situation. Someone really needs to do something about Poland, and I'm kind of yelling at Britain a bit here because Britain is attacking me while at the same time Poland is invading their island.
Mixed priorities, perhaps.
Yeah. For much of this game, I felt that Britain did not know how to prioritize. Going to the build phase.
I disbanded one of my fleets here, so that Ming didn't have to disband an army. Ming actually got to build an army here, which was pretty important for pushing back the Qing.
Ah, that's too bad. Um, as a completely uninvolved party, I am rooting for the Qing, who clearly possess the mandate of heaven, to come out on top of this internal political struggle
Of course.
as a neutral party, of course.
Mm.
The Mughals destroy their fleet here, which is, kind of fair enough, I guess, but
Prudent.
what
Prudent.
perhaps makes it impossible for them to help me fight the Ajuran, though, in the event that they wanted to work together, which we had discussed a bit, but Mughal never really trusted me and didn't really consistently engage with me diplomatically. Always seemed to be having trouble with these other neighbors viciously occupying almost everything. Like, here they are, all the way up to the capital of the Mughal.
Yep.
When I looked at the map before this game started, I really thought that the Mughal position was a decent one, but as the game has unfolded, it's just looked worse and worse.
I think the fact that Ming has been allied to Ayutthaya this entire time, and until now has not had anyone else to fight, probably contributed to that quite a bit.
Yeah. The Mughals have too many neighbors. They had Russia earlier until Russia was pushed back. They have the Ming, they have the Safavids, they have Ayutthaya, they have a bunch of random colonials. It's a lot of diplomacy. Yeah. The Ming, they have Ayutthaya, Mughals, Qing, and you, which it's not nothing, but it's a lot less. And as we've seen, these Eastern powers, they can become pretty dangerous when they don't attack each other.
Yeah.
I think the big highlight of this build phase for me is the destruction of the last Dutch unit, which I felt very pleased with myself for achieving. Technically, France is the one who killed them, but I felt like I pulled the strings there, so I was glad
Did your part.
Yeah. It took me... what year does this game start?
1641, I think.
Yeah, I was trying almost the whole first 8 years of the game to kill off this one person. I mean, I stopped in the middle and then started again, but for most of the game, I was trying to get rid of the Dutch, and it took me until the end of 1648, but it finally happened. There's not too much for me to say about what's going on in the builds. The French get a new fleet because they're just really decided to go after me for some reason. I think they're maybe a little intimidated by the Austrian-Polish alliance, and so they're going to Portugal instead, and Spain. It does look like they get an army here, too, but I don't know if the fleet is going to do France a lick of good.
Unlikely.
Right. Back to Asia.
Now we just see me moving more fleets towards Qing. General pattern.
Yeah. Did you ever, once the war had started, did you ever consider switching sides?
No.
No.
There are just way more dots to be had in Qing. And if Qing wanted any chance of me signing with him, he had to consult me ahead of time, because this is a rather large decision to make. And I feel like I would have liked to have been consulted a little bit.
That seems fair. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That sure is a lot of dots.
Yeah, I would like them. They'd be nice.
Yeah, and that's assuming you don't start convoying. Because then you
have an army just in Okinawa, on vacation. You'll note I just disbanded a fleet instead of an army.
Yes, I did notice that.
What could that mean?
I do not know. Nothing good for the Qing, undoubtedly. Here we have Ayutthaya finishing me off, finally, putting my last unit in Asia out of its misery. We have Ayutthaya moving west, getting ready to go after the Ajuran, and talking to me about that, because I am naturally the most inveterate opponent the Ajuran have ever had,
Of course.
and happen to have a chunk of units here and here that are able to be of some use in opposing them. So at some point around this time, Ayutthaya is approaching me about working together against the Ajuran, which I don't want to be closed off to. It's not necessarily a bad idea. Although I don't know if they approached me about it yet, because right now they are occupying this coastal space right next to India, which is definitely a threat to both me and the Mughals.
Yes.
Going west, this moment is when I'm starting to position to get rid of the French presence in my continent. And my thinking is that once I get rid of the French, then I'll also go after the Polish, and maybe then I'll take the rest of the continent from the Mapuche if I have time, if the game goes on long enough.
Yeah.
If the game goes on long enough, I'll just slowly invade and occupy everyone in the entire world, sure.
And then everything will be peaceful again.
Right. It was always peaceful under the Portuguese. It was just when people...
Famously, everyone was equal.
Everyone was equal, exactly.
Yeah, totally.
We'll be very happy under the Portuguese Empire.
Mm-hmm.
On the bright side, after me kind of bugging Britain a bit, she's withdrawing from the Iberian Current, this critical sea space, and so now I am really only dealing with the French. The French are trying to launch this invasion of Iberia, but they are completely unsupported. They have not enough military power to do it by themselves, and Spain and I are just supporting ourselves in place while we reestablish that we are not, in fact, as opposed to each other as we are opposed to Poland and France and Austria and all the villainous powers of this game that have,
ruined it.
Yes, ruined it and tyrannized Europe.
Yes, indeed.
So, other noteworthy development, is this where have the Swedes already devassaled themselves?
No, this is... I'm not sure what this is. I think it's just a misorder or something like that. Sweden is acting as a vassal of Poland regardless.
Yes, okay, that makes sense. So, for now, they're on the same page.
Yes.
And I do see they are both attacking Russia. They're attacking Russia together. And so Sweden is also being a really good vassal. And Britain is attacking Sweden, trying to retake the North Sea and trying to reclaim, or successfully reclaiming, the bit of Britain itself that had been lost to the Poles.
Yes.
Looking to the fall, more stuff in Asia.
Yeah, it's me misinterpreting the boundaries of sea zones, surprisingly. So I have slightly less progress than usual, but I still take one dot, and I'm setting up to convoy my army from Okinawa. I want to keep that army into Siberia as soon as possible, so I'm moving up to get that started.
That makes sense. Got to move that up. Got to keep progress rolling.
Yep.
Japan's civilizing influence must spread to Siberia.
Exactly. Right, we're doing what is called Hokushin Ron, the northern expansion strategy. We're going to take Manchuria and Siberia for our own purposes, which are obviously good ones, guys.
Inherently.
Yes.
If the Emperor wants it, it must be good.
God says so.
God says so. Wiser words never spoken. So here, I am trying to work with Poland a little bit in the south, and just do whatever I can to hit Ajuran as hard as I can. At the same time, we do have Congo, for some reason, supporting herself into petty. That fails because Ajuran is cutting it while also supporting himself into petty. So I am still losing a bit of ground. I believe this unit gets destroyed. It has nowhere to retreat to.
Yep.
But, we do take this important sea space from Ajuran, although whether Poland will want to continue working with me is another question. Because the fact is, these Polish colonies in both Africa and the Americas are definitely going to become a target for me as I try to help keep Poland from achieving his victory conditions.
And unfortunately for that attempt to keep him from doing his victory conditions, it appears now as if people are intentionally throwing to Poland. You can see his army in Bornu moving towards Bornu's capital, and he has an army in Persia moving towards Persia's capital.
Yes, although I don't know how serious Persia is about the possibility of vassaling or becoming a vassal to Poland, but I wouldn't put it past Persia either.
Yeah, I mean, playing Persia's kind of suffering in any position, which I think you also know.
Yeah, that's true. It's just too many neighbors you've got to deal with. It's almost as bad as the Mughal position, honestly.
Unfortunately so.
So yeah, Poland now has people lining up to become potential vassals, which is not great. And we just have a lot going wrong. The game wasn't supposed to go this way. It was supposed to be a Polish solo victory, or Portuguese solo victory. So we were definitely down the wrong path.
Unfortunate.
On the bright side, I am coring some centers in South America, just trying to make sure that in the event that I don't succeed in taking over all of Africa somehow, while controlling only South Africa right now, in the event that I don't succeed in taking over all of Africa somehow, I have a pretty good base from which to expand. And in order to achieve that, I need to be able to build.
Yeah.
And not just in these distant coastal centers, but in places that are closer to other desirable real estate.
You're just looking to protect Mapuche's dots from other people, of course. You'd never stab him.
No, I would just generously protect and defend him. He doesn't seem to be having much success in defending himself. He's lost the Falklands, and he's also lost his capital at this point.
Yeah, it really appears just some tactical mishaps at this point, unfortunately.
It is, it's pretty bad. It's a little embarrassing. They have the same number of units in the region, so it should be going very differently. And at the same time that he's sort of half-heartedly trying to retake his home centers, he's also trying to move up into Spanish-controlled territory, and that's also unsuccessful here. Bunch of red dots as they try to occupy each other's space. And Poland is the beneficiary because Mapuche is, not defending the centers that he does have.
Yep.
Yeah. Very unfortunate. I was really hoping that me being more or less at peace with Spain would mean that he would do more to stop Poland, but I can hardly blame him for working with Poland here when Mapuche is clearly trying to expand into Central America.
Yeah.
We do have Spain trying to retake the North African center. He lost to Poland here, which is good. That makes me happy, but Poland isn't letting him. So we do have some hope, but not what we should have, not what we were hoping for.
Yeah.
Otherwise, not a whole lot of interesting stuff happening. It's just a lot of people continuing what they've been doing already. Russia slowly continuing to lose ground to the various people that Russia has picked fights with. Qing slowly starting to lose ground to the Ming after picking a fight unwisely there.
Yep.
And Tokugawa continuing to steadily expand.
Slowly but surely.
In the build phase, do you get some new dots? Yes, you do.
Yep, army.
Very nice. Congratulations on your new unit construction.
Thank you.
I see Ming is also constructing an army, but, it's far back from the front line because the front line is just so full of Ming armies. So that's not a bad place to be.
Not where you want to be, probably.
Exactly, yeah. Mapuche destroying all these fleets must make you happy.
Kind of. I kind of like the influence he was having on Ayutthaya in holding back the Ayuttayans. And also there's now a new Ayutthaya, so it's going to become more aggressive as a result.
That could be worrying. Building a fleet here, which I'm sure has very friendly intentions.
Definitely.
I don't believe I got any builds this season. We do have some French destroys, which are all in the French homeland because those fleets are completely useless.
Yeah.
That army wasn't really useless, but I guess defending against Austria and Poland isn't that important. It's more important than the 2 South American dots he has for another season or 2 against me.
Despite the inevitability of those centers falling into your hands.
I 100% am going to take those centers.
Yeah, there's no way you can stop it. It's gonna happen.
The only way I will fail to take those centers is if someone else takes those centers from him.
Or you could pull what the Dutch did and fall asleep.
Yes, that's true. Could fall asleep at that critical order entering moment.
Well, I guess it's the Dutch kind of just lay down. It's the Spanish who fall asleep. They're siestas, you know.
That's right. The Dutch aren't sleeping when orders are to be entered. They're sleeping during diplomacy. It's more of a Rip Van Winkle 20-year-long nap. On the bright side for the Mapuche, the Inuit also had destroys and chose to make the destroys in these 2 centers that were formerly Mapuche home centers. And so the Inuit will be able to hold out a little longer in their homeland, but now this means that Mapuche will have less of a challenge in South America, so I might need to be worried about that. Spain continuing to destroy units in the Americas rather than in this region because, Spain is most prioritizing defending against Austria and Poland. And, maybe theoretically me if I actually attack them again, which goodness knows, I would never stab Spain a 3rd time in a single game because that's
exactly excessive.
Yeah, it's excessive. It's repetitive, and if I stabbed you once, you should be dead already.
Yeah.
So, why would I keep doing it over and over? Oh, a bit of good luck for you here, spring 1650.
Yep, an NMR from the Qing.
Yeah, so all this would be unopposed.
To be fair, all that was set up so it would succeed no matter what the Qing did. If I had known he was going to NMR, I could have had 2 armies in the mainland immediately.
That's a very good point. You could have done even more.
Could have been better.
Yeah, you could have taken this center here, and yeah, it's a bit of a pity that you didn't. That Qing didn't phone in advance and tell you that he was going to NMR.
Yeah, it would have been nice of him.
Such a shame. At this point, Ayutthaya is just a massive threat to me, and is attacking me quite directly.
It's making very clear how massive of a threat he is.
Yeah, he's made a convoy now into the cone of India that I control. So no longer even just trying to march through Mughals to get to me. Now Ayutthaya is marching through me and going to take my stuff and finish Mughals off from both sides. In South Africa, I'm still turtling and also trying to support the Polish fleet further north so that I can hopefully get some of these dots out of Ajurin's hands, while I'm not holding my breath that it will actually happen anytime soon. I'm also continuing to core centers, because you never know when you're going to need new places to be able to build. I'm also moving into this basin here so that I can finally take this center from France, and there's nothing anyone can do to stop it, so that's good.
Yep. Looking good.
Yeah. Mapuche slowly moving toward retaking his capital and other home center that was lost to the Inuits. So happily, things in South America are still moving at a decent, slow pace, which helps me a lot. Mapuche is taking a dot from Spain this season because Spain stopped defending and didn't build anything there. Other than that, it's just Athabasca continuing to invade more of North America and occupy more of that continent.
Yep.
And there's nothing Spain or Britain can probably do to stop it, because Athabasca has the majority of all units on the continent now, I think.
Definitely the majority of useful units, that's for sure.
Yeah. And Inuits are also not fighting Athabasca right now, I don't think. They're fighting Britain.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Britain and Spain, the colonials are out now. They're going to lose their hold in North America slowly but surely.
Certainly seems so.
They're still not really helping each other out. Like we have Spain just supporting Spain's units to hold, and Britain attacking Poland without Spanish help, and it's still a little frustrating to me. Like this is why I kind of ragged on Britain during the game. At least to Britain, I did. I really didn't think that there was much being done against Poland by anyone who might have the actual free hand to do it. You can see here I'm finally, now that I'm not fighting France, Britain, Spain, I'm moving all of my units to try and take African dots that Poland possesses. And Poland is trying to move to defend those dots while and also moving to continue taking some Bornu centers, and Spain is hopefully going to keep trying to take this North African Polish dot, but is mostly going to have to worry about all these Austrian fleets that are trying to Spain's island and coastal centers. So not a great season for those who are looking to stop the Polish solo. The opposition is divided, and Poland is just getting closer and closer. Guess this is a retreat phase. Okay, builds. Yes. So
more armies for me.
Oh man, this is very worrying. If I were in the Qing Dynasty, Qing Dynasty.
Looks like he might move past the fall, but I don't think anything of note happened in the fall.
You don't think they know what happened in the fall? Sorry.
Not anything of note happened in the fall.
Oh,
did we? Maybe not. Maybe I'm just crazy.
I'm not sure. I think we did. I think maybe I.
Oh no, we did cover the fall. I just missed some of the arrows. Okay, yeah.
Maybe
more armies for me.
I'm not sure if we missed it or if we didn't cover it. I actually occupied the French center of Nantes and this French center in South America, so I'm not sure we covered it, actually.
Yeah.
Fall was actually a pretty decent season for me, but the problem was that my gains in Europe and South America are equaled by my losses to Ajuran and Ayutthaya in India, and so I don't have any builds.
Tragic.
It is. Meanwhile, Poland gets builds, puts a fleet right here to threaten my West African center of Dakar, and the Austrians are continuing to attack Spain in the fall, so it's not a good place where the momentum is taking us.
Not looking good.
No.
You.
Not at all. And Poland is at 36 centers after this.
Getting close.
Getting real close. So tell me what's going on in spring of 1651.
Yeah, so at this point, Qing just begins actively throwing to me. I don't have to prompt him on this. He just does it independently of his own accord. So I take advantage of it by marching all my armies into Siberia.
That sounds like the kind of sentence a military historian would say when talking about how Japan lost a war. Or how anyone lost a war. Yeah, so then I marched all my armies into Siberia.
Went on a little Siberian holiday, as it were. I'm also planning to at some point take back Manila from Ming. It's been agreed upon, obviously, that will happen. I'm just also covering my bases with self-bounces, just in case the Spanish fleet that found itself in the North Pacific tries anything. Because I'm paranoid about that. Yeah. I'd really rather not deal with a Spanish fleet behind the lines. Or it would be annoying.
He's trying to move south to South Pacific Ocean so he can go and attack Mapuche again.
Yeah.
It's pretty funny. Very unfortunately, the state of affairs for me in India and Africa basically just continues to progress the way it has been. I am slowly but steadily losing ground in India especially, but also losing ground still in Africa to Ajuran and also now to Ayutthaya. So, not a great position to be in. In South America, I am taking this last French dot on the continent as France moves toward maybe taking a Polish dot instead of bothering me with the rest of his existence in this region. So
Yes.
we hope that he'll go for that Polish dot and stop making a nuisance of himself. Unfortunately, Austria is moving to take over the remaining French home dots and probably likely to relieve me of my hold of Nantes pretty soon.
Not much can be done about that, unfortunately.
No. And now Poland and I are fighting outright, which means that he's not likely to continue helping me with, well, he's already pulled back this fleet he had in moving up in Africa, pulled that to the South Atlantic Ocean so it can maybe harass me a bit. So the board leaders are not properly being set against each other. And
although I will say some of the throwing has not actually happened properly. Poland tries to vassalize Khanum Bornu and Safavids, but both of them refuse the attempt.
Yeah.
And actually, this is the turn, I think, when Sweden... Let me see. Yes, Sweden stabs Poland here after some encouragement.
Ah, yes. Sweden stabs Poland, and well done, if you were one of the ones encouraging him.
A little bit. I'm not sure if I was crucial in encouraging him, but I remember him saying, well, I'm not going to stab because Russia is not doing as I say. And my response was basically, listen, man, if you're letting Russia dictate your policy at this point, you're giving them way too much power.
Russia, all of 4 dots.
2 dots, actually.
Oh my gosh. Really? He does have 2.
Yep.
That's... Man. He doesn't even have Moscow.
Long gone.
That is pretty funny.
I was like, dude, this is not a valid excuse for your actions.
A very strange rationale at this point.
Yes, luckily he cast it aside and plunged the knife right in.
As you should. Looking to the fall, I see you are continuing your noble invasion of the Qing dynasty. This is surely bringing back some memories of your knowledge of Japanese foreign policy, invading parts of China.
Well, you see, this is just the, we were thinking about Manchuria, and we were realizing that really could use some new administration, because the current one is quite backwards and barbaric, and they need to be civilized. And luckily, the Ming actually agreed with us, and they just let us in.
Well, things could have gone very differently. I'm glad you guys got along on that.
Yes. The other thing I do here is I'm getting worried about Athapaska potentially hitting his victory condition and ending the game before I get a chance to stop him. So you can see my fleets that are not being used are all centralizing into the North Pacific, and I launch an attack to break one of his convoy attempts up in the Arctic.
Wow. I see that. Yes, you are dislodging this unit.
Yes, I was tipped off about that convoy by, I think Inuit, actually. I can't recall exactly for sure at this point. It's been a little while.
It's funny because
Yes.
Inuit is a vassal of Athapaska now, so you would think that Inuit should not be tipping people off about this sort of thing.
Inuit is not the most loyal of vassals.
Gosh, you can't find good vassals these days.
That's why I never vassalize anybody.
Wow, very prudent.
Yep. The problem with vassalizing somebody is it means that you can't do anything to them anymore. You know, if they're a disloyal janissary, you can't walk up to them and wipe them off the map. You just have to deal with it.
Mm. Yeah, I wouldn't want to be in that situation.
Yeah.
Elsewhere, basically I'm losing all that I had left in the Indian subcontinent, and I make an unsuccessful attempt to retake or to put an army on the island of Madagascar here and retake the center, but I get dislodged instead. I do have some units in the Indian Ocean, but they're doing me a fat lot of good where they are.
Yeah. Downside to having units in oceans is if you don't control the edges, they're not worth anything.
Yeah. Yeah, all my support is being cut, and so they do not succeed in retaking Ceylon as I had hoped. Elsewhere, I do succeed in convoying to Africa from South America, which was very amusing. So now I am potentially in a position to do a little bit more damage, or at least harass Poland. Unfortunately, he does take Dhaka and keeps it. I take this last French dot from France, and at the same time, France hadn't answered me about whether or not he was going to attack this Polish center. I was going to support him in if he said he was, but he didn't say anything.
Yep.
So instead, I just gave myself an extra redundant support into this space where the French fleet was, so that I could be positioning myself to attack that Polish center. Unfortunately for me, at the same time as that, Poland is moving to Orinoco, so they'll be in a better position to defend the the Polish center of Parmerbo in the coming year. But the good thing is Mapuche is taking this Polish center, although I think it's by arrangement.
Well, what I will say is you offered France a baguette, and he should have taken it, and he didn't. So instead, you took the baguette, you held it like a baseball bat, and you kind of hit him away.
Yeah, kind of walloped him. Elsewhere, France is also being exterminated in Europe. We see the Austrians have occupied the capital of Paris, and they're also unfortunately taking Nantes from me. So it looks like France is going extinct.
Yeah. Well, when an Austrian takes Paris, I think you really have to start considering your life choices.
Yeah.
And perhaps what that Austrian might have in mind for Poland as well.
Yes. You would normally be worried about that, although I think the Polish have them well in hand at this point. But we'll see. You know,
we will see.
It's the game's far from over. There's a lot of play left in this. The leaders right now are Pascha and Poland, but this game does have a lot of play left in it.
Indeed.
Anything noteworthy about the build phase?
Not much. I actually build one more fleet here. Some more fleets, basically. Because I need to exert pressure on Athabasca, and if Qing's actively throwing to me in Siberia, I don't really need armies to fight him, because he's just letting me walk in.
You're not thinking about putting more armies on there just in case you want to go on a further stroll?
The way I view the position is that the front between Ming and Qing, or at least their former territories, is going to be quite static regardless, and the way you can win that fight is going to have to be with fleets to chip away at the coastline. I don't think there's not much value to be had in putting more armies on the mainland than maybe 5 or 6.
Interesting.
So, holding at 4 for now.
Very good point. And you already have Ming outgunned in terms of navy.
Yeah, but more never hurt anybody.
More ships never hurt. That's true. Poland actually has a destroy here. Destroys his unit that was in Bornu.
So that's quite a few destroys. He has 6 destroys here, I think.
Oh my gosh, yeah. This Swedish stab. Dang.
Yeah.
That's quite something.
Brutal.
The year 1652. Spring.
By this point, Astro has gone longer than the other 2 games.
Oh.
Pretty sure, at least.
Yeah, I do remember hearing something about that. About it being a long one. And that doesn't surprise me. And I know there are some rumblings at some point about the game maybe needing to end. I don't know if it had started by now. I don't think it had.
There were a bunch. I remember before Sweden stabbed Poland was pushing pretty hard for a draw because the Polish player was going to be going on a vacation or something or other.
Ah, yes.
But ultimately we defeated that, and we had the game go on.
Yeah. We defeated that against our better judgment.
Yeah, you and I were 2 of the votes against the draw, so...
I figured things couldn't get any worse than this.
I figure things can only get better.
Yeah, that's kind of where I was at. I was thinking I'm going to get more of Africa and probably more of South America, maybe even more of Europe. Who knows? So this season, how are things for you?
I'm just developing my strategy more. I'm continuing to advance into Qing because he's just letting me. And my fleets are all moving towards Athabasca. I'm trying to put a ceiling on how high he can grow at the moment. Not looking to cripple him, but I'm looking to delay him enough that I can get to my victory condition. And the hope is that we'll win together.
That's a very interesting strategy. Now you have this influence in these 2 different continents, Asia and North America.
Yep.
Meanwhile, I see that Mapuche is also making some moves in the direction of Athabasca, makes a convoy all the way from this Chilean dot all the way up into Central America. So now he has an army that he can support into this center of Athabasca.
Yep.
So I guess you guys were coordinating a bit?
A little bit, yeah.
Good stuff. At the same time, I'm working with Mapuche against the Polish. He supports me into Orinoco, which is part of me repositioning to take this former Dutch, now Polish dot of Perygl. We'll see if that succeeds. Poland moving into this dot that borders a couple of my centers.
Mm.
So I'm
a little annoying.
What'd you say?
A little annoying.
Yeah, a little annoying, but I've managed to keep my forces in South America pretty considerable so that I can defend adequately. And I also moved into Moritzstad so that I'm in a position to defend against this specific fleet. So hopefully it won't take any ground.
Yes.
I've been playing defense for a lot of this game, and it's something I don't really love doing, but I'm not bad at it. Elsewhere, you see that Poland is trying to destroy my army. He devotes 3 units to that, and I use 3 units and convoy it to here.
Around the Polish armies?
Yes. Around the Polish armies, so that I can, potentially threaten this open center, or perhaps support it into this center. Or
also a combination of Dunkirk and of the German push to get through the Ardennes.
That's a very good point.
Which is an interesting combination.
Yeah, I wouldn't have thought of that, but that is that is an interesting point.
Mm.
And I'm very glad that I do manage to rescue that unit, because it's going to be a big nuisance to the Poles for at least a little while.
Yes.
This season I also take Marrakesh from the Poles because they are trying to take my
Rif.
Yes, Rif. They're trying to take Rif, or this. Is it Rif? Anyway, they're trying to take one of the fucking dots.
Just get really close to the screen.
Yes. Unfortunately, it does not magnify larger than this. So they're trying to take that, and because of that, they do not defend Marrakesh. I also had been cutting support in case they did try to defend it. So I'm in a pretty good position to at least hold this dot that I just took from Poland, get a little bit of revenge since he took Dakar. And, elsewhere I'm not likely to lose ground because Spain is doing the brunt of the fighting with Austria. And anyway, I don't really mind that much if Austria occasionally takes ground, as long as it's pretty slow, because it's all Spanish territory he's fighting in.
Unfortunately, Austria's growth is no longer going to be very slow because he chooses this moment to slip the knife into Poland's back.
This is once we have the new Polish player, because the old Polish player, after having his draw voted down and still not having quite made it to his victory condition, chooses to hang up his spurs and can no longer continue. And so this new player replaces him, who doesn't have any of the same relationships, doesn't have any of the same whatever intangibles you can say that a player has. The Polish player had some pretty good ones.
Yeah.
And one of the biggest things was that he could rely on Austria to be a very steadfast ally, even to the point of it seeming a bit irrational.
Yes, that was a talking point in some of the public channels.
Yeah, it was something I complained about, I'm sure, because it made no sense for Austria to be this loyal for so long. And
I have to agree.
If Austria had stabbed Poland, well, we'll see. Once Austria stabs Poland, the whole game changes.
Indeed it does.
So, first going to Asia. I see your invasion of Russia continues.
Yep, I just get a bunch of free dots.
This is basically the Japanese fantasy of how World War II should have gone.
Yeah, this is how it should have gone when Japan invaded China, is the Chinese should have all just ran away and let the Japanese conquer everything.
And then they should have been able to take over Russia as well, or at least the East. part of Russia.
And that would have been prosperity.
Greater, much greater co-prosperity.
Exactly, for everybody equally. But some people obviously are more equal than others.
Of course. So the other items of note, I see you are continuing to push units east from your perspective into this territory around Athapaska.
Yep.
So he's going to have to keep thinking about that as he tries to quickly rush toward his victory condition. And we will see if you manage to slow him down or stop him. And it looks to me as if Inuit is also stabbing him right now.
Yes, Inuit is stabbing him right now.
So Athapaska does have a few problems to wrestle with, although he's also got, he's making advances against Britain. So ups and downs. He's losing ground to Mapuche. He's being stabbed by Inuit. He's being surrounded by your fleets, but he is still making some gains from Britain.
Also in this position, Ayutthaya convoys an army across the Indian Ocean and lands it in Ajuran. I believe that was arranged by Ajuran, who wanted to be vassalized.
Yes, it has to have been, but I was very annoyed when I saw that.
Yeah, this also made me quite paranoid about Ayutthaya, because the original idea was Ayutthaya and I would grow slowly and simultaneously, and that way there wouldn't be a risk. At least, this was my idea. I think we talked about it, but not like specifically like this. But my idea was at least that we would grow slowly together, so that neither of us, especially not him, because he had the better expansion than me, so he wouldn't reach 25% above me in victory condition, because that would allow him to lock me out. So seeing this made me a lot more concerned about Ayutthaya.
And at the time that you had that discussion with Ayutthaya, was that the current Ayutthaya or the original Ayutthaya?
Current Ayutthaya. I didn't really discuss anything. The extent of my discussions with original Ayutthaya was, the Philippines are mine, don't touch. Okay. That was like it. There was also like some vague idea of defending each other if the Ming stabbed one of us, but I wasn't ever really going to do that, because the Ming were my best friend.
Oh, that's touching.
And if the Ming are stabbing Ayutthaya, all those Ayutthayan fleets are going to be gone.
Yeah, that's true.
Yep.
So I was very annoyed because Ajuran spent all these years trying to conquer Africa, never made peace with me, never made peace with Congo, really, and finally just gives up and folds as soon as Ayutthaya shows up.
Yeah. Once things start going poorly, he's just like, okay, nothing I can do.
I give up. Let's play another game.
Yep.
That is the disappointing thing about the vassal system, is that, you whittle down someone who was the board leader, and then that person ends up just giving up his sovereignty.
They turn around, they can throw, and they're like, they feel rewarded for it. And it's like, no.
All this time, we fought this hard battle against you. So that's pretty kind of sad, but...
Cowards.
Yeah. On the other hand, I do understand wanting to be a vassal. There'll be a time when I want to be a vassal at a certain point in this game, but hasn't come yet. I'm pretty determined to try and get as close as I can to the top right now without that. So I managed to take Palmerbo this season. I am happy that there's just a very peaceful border between me and Mapuche. I'm just focused on trying to defend Africa right now, and trying to keep my sort of influence over what's going on in the Indian Ocean. And, ideally I would have prevented this vassalization that's coming. The fact that there is this convoy comes as a massive surprise to me. I was really trying to pit Ajuran and Ayutthaya against each other. Clearly not successful.
Yeah.
And the other thing I'm focused on is fighting Poland, but it's very limited in its effectiveness. The original Poland was correct about that. He basically kind of predicted earlier that I wouldn't be able to take much from him in Africa at a certain point, and I kind of argued with him a bit and kind of tried to say that maybe I would, because maybe I would convoy armies, or I'd get Bornu to help me. But as we're seeing, he just, once he's actually in defense mode, it is really hard to make inroads, because
he's got a good position.
Yeah, he's got a good position, and Honestly, there aren't enough sea spaces that border these land spaces for me to be able to do much with fleets. I need army.
Similar thing that happened to me in North America is that there's just not enough space.
Yeah, like what is this? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 sea spaces that border like almost the whole continent on your side. Whereas there's how many land spaces? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. There's so many land spaces that there's no way a naval attack against an entrenched land power should ever succeed.
Yeah.
And so that might be a little bit of a design flaw on the map, to be honest.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, it makes fleets are essential because of how far apart certain things are on this map, but they're also kind of useless in some areas.
Yes, some areas more than others.
Yeah. The other thing I'm doing is just defending the Iberian Peninsula itself from the evil Austrian invader, who is having trouble pushing back the Spanish, but still slowly taking ground. So Austria taking a lot of ground from Poland at this point, and clearly destined to take over the Polish position, essentially. So it's looking pretty grim for everyone who was opposed to Austria up until this point. Build phase. Looks
yes,
like...
so
Go ahead.
at this point, my builds are angled, to be quite honest, to either give me a stab on Ming or to get me stab on Ayutthaya. Because my prediction at this point is that I will not get... I'm at 24 dots, I think, right now. There is no way for me to win without taking dots from Ming or Ayutthaya. I think it would be easier for me to stab Ming because they're closer to me. They have more dots that are like I can get to. Where with Ayutthaya, it's going to be a little difficult to like get into the East Indies from the Philippines, which is something I had overlooked, I think, early in the game. And if I had properly looked at it, I think I would have been trying to get in there a lot earlier rather than attacking Athabasca, but I kind of overlooked that. So my current thinking is just to go and attack one of them. But between the builds and the moves, Ayutthaya had very, very clearly been working on Ming to get Ming to not trust me. And so I decided, to stab both Ayutthaya and Ming at the same time, with the thinking generally being that I would find a way to pick dots up off Ming, and that I could steal like 1 or 2 dots off Ayutthaya, and it wouldn't be a full-scale war, because if I'm close enough to Ayutthaya in victory condition, it will actually be beneficial for him to lift me up, so that we can have a gap between us and everybody else.
Very thoughtfully constructed plan.
It's also historically accurate for Japan to at some point just go crazy and attack all of its neighbors.
Well, I wouldn't want you to break your historical script.
Exactly.
It's interesting. Ayutthaya managed to be so successful, splitting you and Ming up. If Qing had actually tried to do that by working on Ming, I wonder what the result would have been.
Yep.
But Qing
instead he's dead.
Basically, yeah. Qing's just this scattered, trio of centers?
He has 4 dots.
4. Okay. Yeah, I see it now because of Irkutsk. Not much else to say in this build phase. That sounds like a real landmark development.
It was probably a mistake. I probably should have stuck with Ming and just attacked Ayutthaya, and focused myself on getting fleets in, in the South Pacific and from the North Pacific into the East Indies, and just really chipped away at the Ayutthayans.
You're under a lot of pressure at this point, so, I get it.
Take some risks.
Yeah.
Do what you must.
You are up there in the near leadership position with Athabasca, Austria, Ayutthaya, and you all in the winner's circle territory, but it's hard. It's hard to get those last dots to cross the line.
It is. Especially for Tokugawa here. It's just hard to get a land. It's hard to get a good spot on the continent to expand from.
I believe it. I mean, if you had a better relationship with Mapuche, you might be able to get him to help you into some of these Ayutthaya centers. But yeah, without stabbing one of the other Asian countries you're allied with, I don't know how you'd really get anything. Mapuche's centers are fairly well guarded at this point.
It's a similar problem that you have with North America, and that it's very, very difficult to really get a landing.
Exactly. Yeah. And he even has control over South Pacific Ocean, basically.
Yeah, I may have wanted to attack him at some point in the intervening years, because at this point he's gotten so many fleets, he's very defensible. It's very hard to deal with.
Yeah. Other noteworthy development for me, Spain destroys more units because just trying to defend those last few dots from Austria,
Yeah.
nobly sacrificing himself for the benefit of all.
He's trying to avoid the permanent siesta.
Permanent siesta, indeed. So now this season is the stab on all, correct?
Yes, I stab Ming and Ayutthaya. Ming stabs Ayutthaya. Ayutthaya stabs Ming. It's just chaos. This was also part of my thinking at the time, is that these two are both stabbing each other, so as long as they're not cooperating against me, I won't have as much of an issue.
I can see it. I can see you getting some gains out of here at least. I mean, Formosa should be pretty vulnerable in the near future, and this center here, whatever. Nanjing, I wasn't sure. Okay.
Yes.
Oh gosh, Japan and Nanjing. And anyway, you're continuing to take centers from Qing. That's important for your success, because there's another couple that you can get there. So I can't see. I don't see much likelihood of you being stopped from getting to your victory supply center count, at least. Whether or not you'll be at the top of the winner's circle, to be determined, but you're doing good. And I'm still being attacked. Ajuran now supporting Ayutthaya into my dots in Africa. At the same time, I am doing pretty okay in South America. Things are pretty uneventful there, other than that I'm seeing more units than I would like, trying to move into South Atlantic Ocean.
Yep.
In Europe and Africa, things are basically unchanged. I'm continuing to try and take dots from the Poles, and Spain and I are continuing to try and defend against the Austrians. And Athabasca is just has kind of a more or less stable border with Britain now, it seems like, because Britain's got a pretty good line of defense here. But Athabasca is losing ground to Mapuche. So that's probably going to mean that Athabasca is not likely to actually reach victory. And also, Athabasca has lost the vassal of Inuits.
Yes, that makes it more difficult for him.
A lot more. And it's just big. Any of these times one of these players loses their vassals, I think, because Poland without vassals and without a bunch of centers that he lost to Austria has gone from the board leadership position to barely just over halfway to victory.
And even then, it's only getting worse.
Yeah, it's only getting worse. Probably going to be down to from 26 to 16 in a year or two at the rate things are going.
Yeah.
Let's look at the fall. So what is happening in Asia here?
So I made like a tactical error, essentially, in my attempt to take Formosa. I just support the wrong unit in, quite frankly, which isn't ideal. But what I also do is I avoid going to Nanjing, even though I'm trying to do a historical kind of reenactment of Japan. That's not something that I want to reenact, so we're not going to be doing that. Also, Qing stops throwing to me, unfortunately, and decides to start helping Ming instead, which is not what I want to be seeing.
Wow.
But we'll deal with it.
And I see Ming is also just taking a dot that was just yours, that was just not defended for a moment because you were trying to move toward Qing.
Yeah, I mean, I was just thinking, like, I can go take this Qing dot, and then even if Ming doubles up to attack it, I'll be fine, but not fine. So that's the sort of things going quite wrong for me. I get better positioning against Ayutthaya, but no dots, and he's gaining dots elsewhere because people are actively throwing to him. So that's bad because he'll be able to build fleets to counter my incursion.
Yeah. If Ajuran wasn't throwing to him, and it's mainly Ajuran, I think.
Yes, it's just Ajuran. Whatever, he's throwing. I'm afraid I don't have much respect for that behavior, especially when the game is so competitive.
Yes, for Ajuran, for you, for Ayutthaya, I think it is.
Yeah.
Especially if Ajuran would actually try to retake some of these lost dots that are... Ayutthaya really can't do much to try and keep hold of India or these dots that Ajuran gave him, because Ayutthaya has you to contend with, and potentially, theoretically, also Mapuche, if Mapuche could ever succeed in landing a move into this hemisphere. Mapuche does actually get a piece of Australia back, so...
But then he moves his army around and just kind of like a tactical error like I do with Taiwan, and just walks out of the center.
Oh my gosh, yes. I see.
Yeah.
Oh, that's terrible.
Yeah. This one, Mapuche and I were kind of cooperating a little bit, not extensively, but he's like supporting my moves and whatnot. So that wasn't good to see.
Understandable. At this point, Mapuche also moves into a sea space next to my home centers in South America, which I am not very happy about. And at the same time, he supports Poland into the center I had just taken from Poland a year or so ago, Perygl. And so I have some colorful words for Mapuche.
Yeah.
I tell him, okay, you and I benefited a lot from being at peace with each other for almost this entire game. But if you want me to come and take you down, I will. Not my exact phrasing, but I'm, at this point, the game is clearly unraveling, and so I'm eager to just get in some fun fighting, beating up on power that definitely cannot defeat me on his own.
Yeah.
Who has almost no armies to speak of in South America.
And who walked out of a center which would have gotten him a build.
Indeed. Meanwhile, I walked into a Spanish center in Africa here, and I am also taking this opportunity with Austria's support to stab Spain in Iberia itself, because even though Spain and I were like this, we were so close, I had to go with the power that was going to win and work with Austria, because otherwise, Austria would just steamroll into this Spanish territory anyway and then keep going. And this way I can establish a border with Austria, a relationship that will hopefully help me to acquire more Polish centers, and maybe I can start moving up toward being on track for my own victory conditions again, although I don't have much hope for that now.
Also, you're giving Spain a permanent siesta.
Obviously, for the value of that alone, I should be happy. And I'm also kind of pleased because this is the third person I've finished off in this game. I killed off the Dutch, the French, and now the Spanish.
See, well, I've just not killed anybody this game. I've just been, I just take all the outerlying territories. I guess I kind of killed Cheng, but he also kind of killed himself.
Yeah, so did the Dutch, really, by choosing to keep a unit that wasn't in a center and then having France try and keep bouncing me out.
Yeah.
Not a good move on the Dutch's part. And I killed powers in this game, but only powers that were colonizers. So I was, collecting other colonial powers as trophies. And
the problem is that you only killed 3 of them. If you would have killed 6 of them, you would have been able to snap your fingers and take half the board.
That's true. I just didn't go far enough.
Yeah. You had to get the other colonials, Britain, Poland, and what's the other colonial? That's another one, right?
I'm not thinking of
Ottomans, I think.
Oh,
I call Ottomans.
if I'd killed the Ottomans, then I would be dominating this map, obviously.
Yeah, that would have meant you would have gotten the 6th colonial power for your gauntlet.
That's true. I would be able to just snap my fingers and declare victory.
By the way, we'll do it on camera. Ruin.
All right. So at this point, is this the build phase?
Not much more to discuss. It's just wrapping up the game, I suppose.
Yeah, we're in this last year or two.
I get forced into a disband for this year because of my poor tactics. And now Ayutthaya and Ming make up, sort of, which is bad for me. And it only gets worse.
That is a real shame.
Because I get stabbed in the back by Mapuche.
Oh, Mapuche. They stabbed me and then they stabbed you. What an agent of chaos.
Yep.
I guess since the game was circling the drain, he wanted to just have fun.
Get as many dots as possible.
It's funny, I don't think it worked out at all for him if that was his intention.
No.
I mean, because he didn't get any dots by betraying me last year, and now what's happening is I am moving my armies that were just hanging out near Poland all towards the border with Mapuche, and also moving my fleets down to defend these coastal centers.
You've got a message to deliver.
Yes, I have a message to deliver. I have a pound of flesh to take. It's time to remind people watching the game what happens when you mess with Florida Man.
He ignores everything else and comes to you specifically.
Yes. I'm going to make you a message. Going to make an example. So I am, still fighting sort of feebly in Africa. At this point, I start working with Congo again because the game really is just about over. I support Congo into Ajurin's territory because Ajurin is really the person who's caused me the most headache in this game and deserves to lose some stuff. I continue to hold on to what I have in Africa, but now I'm not attacking Poland anymore because I'm thinking about Mapuche and also because I'm thinking about the British. The British are attacking me for no reason again. And so,
see dot, take dot.
Yeah, that's the thought process seems to be. So I'm just eager to be done with them and hoping I can keep them from getting any significant gains from stabbing me yet again. But they do take Azores, but I'm not going to be able to take that back. And that's it. And then for that, they'll have 5 fleets in the region defending it for the rest of the game.
Yep.
I am also, at this point, thinking about throwing to Austria, I have to tell you, because I'm figuring if I can become an Austrian vassal, that will technically be a better ranking for me than I could otherwise achieve. At this point in the game, it's pretty obvious no one's going to sit back and just let me collect dots. My current supply center count has been stagnant for years.
Yeah, that's true. Nearly a decade, probably.
So I'm ready to just take advantage of the rules of the game. The variant that we're playing.
Well, let's see how it goes.
Yeah. In the fall, how are things with you?
I'm just desperately holding on to everything I can, trying to self-bounce and cut Mapuche's support everywhere. This is just me just throwing out all the tactics I can muster at this point to try to hold anything together I can, because there's not much help with diplomacy. Ming's demand for peace was pull all your fleets out of everything bordering all my centers, which is not something I can do because one of them is the Oriental Sea, which borders 4 of my centers. So not having a fleet there is just kind of untenable at this point in the game.
Yeah.
Other than that, Ayutthaya is semi-consistently messaging me, but I'm not really paying attention to anything he says. I just don't trust him very much, and I don't particularly want to work with him after he worked to turn the Ming on me and to make my stab less effective.
Well, that makes perfect sense to me. Hopefully,
he also around here half-heartedly proposes me vassalizing myself to him, but I'm never going to do that. I've made very clear in public press in this game that I will never surrender to become a vassal of anybody, let alone Ayutthaya. Ugh.
This is a big Japanese chip on your shoulder, huh?
We will not surrender. We fight to the end.
The Emperor will The Emperor's subjects will fight on the streets and the beaches and the islands.
Ayutthaya doesn't have nuclear weapons. What are they going to do?
Oh my god, they're gonna have to send 1,000,000 Ayutthayans to die on the island, on mainland.
Yeah. Is it worth it, Ayutthaya? Was it worth it?
Oh my god. So in my neck of the woods, I am now occupying Mapuche centers. I think I do end up taking. He's not really taking anything from me. I think I end up taking more dots from him than he's going to get from me for what's left of the game. I continue to lose a little bit of ground to Ayutthaya in Africa, but on the bright side, I did succeed in taking a dot from Ajuran and giving it to Congo, who at least was not as difficult as Ajuran.
Or as treacherous.
As treacherous, that might be a better way of putting it. And Britain's not going to gain a single additional center from me, so she's kind of out of luck, despite committing half a dozen fleets to this attempted invasion. At the same time, I am allowing Austria into the Iberian Peninsula because of the plan I have to become an Austrian vassal. That's fall 1654. This is the build phase. I destroyed one of my African units because who cares about South Africa anymore? Yeah. I have way bigger problems now.
I'm just disbanding units on the periphery that won't help me hold on to centers. I have 3 disbands to make this year.
Are they from...
one of them was forced disbanded already, so I only had to actually disband 2 units.
Oh, I see.
One is in Indonesia, the other one's by Taiwan.
I see. Okay. And this is spring 1655. I'll go here. You can see that I'm letting Austria invade Iberia more now. That's all agreed. The plan is that I'm going to actually convoy one of his units into my capital. And so I'm moving out my fleets, and he's moving his fleets to make that possible. But unfortunately, it just, the game master decides that the game is going to end, and so this ultimately isn't going to happen.
The game master decides, but also Austria was definitely in the position, like, had enough dots to solo win after this year.
Oh, yeah.
So.
Yeah, you can see that Austria ends up with 38 to the 28 victory condition. And that's actually before the end of this year. That's the beginning of this year. So, it's a very strong Austrian finish, and it's actually a much stronger than expected from my point of view Ming finish, because Ming managed to work with Ayutthaya against you. The two of them made peace very effectively, I think.
Yes, they did.
And, not a great game for Portugal overall. I think we kind of won the fight with Mapuche to the extent that there was any winning that was going to happen in this game that was virtually over. Mm-hmm. But, besides having a stronghold in South America and barely continuing to hold on to a little foothold in Africa and, taking over all of Iberia, Portugal didn't really win much in this game. Feel like colonial ventures were not very successful. About the same level of success as Britain, who just barely managed to expand her American colonies. Not the best of games for us. But you did well.
I had a good showing for a while. My big downfall was that my last multi-stab on Ming and Ayutthaya was just poorly thought out, I think. And I was kind of taking for granted that it would be part of the winner's circle, when really that wasn't guaranteed in any way. Although, given how quickly Austria expanded, I'm not sure it would have made a difference in the end anyways.
That is a fair point. This is the final season before the Game Master decided to shut it down.
Well, also Austria did finally take their victory.
Yes. But I believe that was mainly Austria chose this moment because Flair decided that this would be the last season.
Flair said, I'm going on vacation. I'm not going to adjudicate the game when I'm going on vacation just because Austria wants to keep getting bigger.
Well, I wanted to become a vassal to Austria so I could rank above all the people who did better than me. This isn't fair, Flair.
No vacation for Flair. Only diplomacy.
What else is there in life? No, I'm kidding. It is a bit of a pity, but it was an interesting game. It had lots of ups and downs, backs and forths, lots of different leaders. Poland was almost the leader. Now all he has is a little African colony. And
a little Caribbean colony. There you go.
Well, at least he has a nice place to vacation.
Exactly. Well, he'll be on vacation forever now.
Yes, they don't need Polish leadership in Poland anymore. Poland has been partitioned between Austria and Sweden.
The Austrian man has ideas for Poland, and the ideas were to get rid of Poland, and nobody is surprised.
Yeah, this does seem like it echoes certain things in real history, unfortunately.
Austrian guy conquers France, conquers Poland, conquers the Balkans, conquers the Netherlands. Looks like he's conquering Russia next, which is kind of concerning.
Has a pretty good influence over what's going on in Scandinavia.
Yep. Also fighting Britain.
Yeah, but Britain's holding out.
Yep.
And Iberia kind of remaining sort of semi-independent, or Iberia kind of remaining sort of outside of the war, you might say.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was an interesting one. And
it was.
Bornu boycotting the final season. I don't even remember why, do you?
Because the game was ending, I think.
I thought it might be because he was protesting some rules change Flair was considering for the next game.
It's because Flair was considering getting rid of Bornu as a power.
Oh, wow. Okay. That's a good reason.
Yeah.
That's pretty funny.
That was Imperial Diplomacy.
Yes. Thank you all for watching. Thank you, King of Prussia, for recording. This has been a pleasure. And
thanks for having me. It was how long have we gone now? What has it been?
I don't know how many hours this is.
I want to say 5.
Yeah, probably 5. Maybe a little less by the time I edit it, but
yeah.
It's well, true diplomacy fans will get to this part.
Yes, if you're still watching this part, let me just tell you the secret of diplomacy is to always stab all the time.
That's the secret of what not to do in diplomacy. Oh my gosh. Yeah. I don't know. I think I used to know the secret of diplomacy, but I forgot it at some point.
I know the secret of world variant diplomacy. I don't really know the secret of much other diplomacy. I can be good at it, but I know the secret of big diplomacy and of diplomacy where I get to have like a corner somewhere where I don't have people around me. When I have people all around me, I don't have the ability to like sit and plan, and so it just goes poorly.
Oh, that's annoying. Gosh.
Yep.
Well, I personally would have also liked having a smaller position, a corner somewhere that I could sit and plan, because this world variant really took a lot out of me. I had to communicate with literally dozens of people, and it was a lot of effort for very low ROI.
Well, you did better than France and Netherlands and Spain.
Well, yeah, but, the powers that aren't on the map anymore.
The second best performing colonial.
I guess I am. I guess I am the second best performing colonial after Britain.
Yep.
So I should feel a little bit good about that, because at least I did perform better than most of them. I mean, Poland died, exactly. The Netherlands died. Could have been worse. Could have been worse.
Indeed.
Good game, man.
It was fun. Now we'll see what happens in the next round of Imperial Diplomacy in August.
Oh my gosh.
Coming up.
I don't dare to guess. I will not be in that one. But if you play, are you playing?
Yeah, I will.
I wish you the best of luck.
Thanks. I'll need it. I'm going to try and play a colonial. So we'll see how that goes.
Well, hopefully they give you Portugal. It's a great power. Lots of pros to it.
definitely know ways to get stabbed.
No, it's really hard. You see how hard it was for Mapuche to stab me, and he ended up getting pretty much nothing out of it. But I wish you luck. Maybe we'll do this again sometime.
I would be glad to.
You'll have to let me know how that game goes. I hope you liked that video. And if you did, you know what to do. Like, subscribe, comment with your thoughts below. I would like to thank the patrons and the translators and also just the subscribers. Everyone who's still sticking around, remaining interested in this channel. I have to say, the future of it is not certain. It's possible I will not have time to make diplomacy videos at a certain point in the future. I have a new career path I've embarked on as a writer, and I'm also going to have other personal obligations in the near future that might prevent me from devoting much time to diplomacy. But I intend right now to always leave my YouTube channel up, maybe update it when I can if the commitment becomes too difficult to keep up regularly, and I hope it will always be a testament to my love of this beautiful hobby. There will be more videos to come after this, though, so look forward to those. Until next time, Florida Man, out.